The lightsabers in Star Wars are by far the most famous weapon in movie history. Ever since Luke Skywalker ignited his blue blade in Ben Kenobi's hut, people have dreamt about what it would be like to own a lightsaber themselves. How would you use it? Would you be a Sith and break into a bank vault? Or be a lazy Jedi and just make really great toast? Despite all these questions and how cool it would be, deep down I think we all know that we probably wouldn't last 5 minutes with one. I'd try to spin it like Anakin and end up probably cutting something off. I mean, what would have happened if Luke had accidentally turned it on when he looked right down the barrel when he first got it? Since a lightsaber isn't a toy and is incredibly dangerous, it's no wonder only the Jedi wielded them. They were the only ones in the galaxy who could handle their unpredictability with the help of the Force. But even the Jedi needed a lot of time to train before handling one themselves. In fact, the lightsabers were so dangerous that even the Jedi didn't give them to younglings right away. A baby with a lightsaber is something even Yoda wouldn't want to deal with. In the new canon audiobook, Dooku Jedi Lost, we learn exactly what type of weapon the younglings used instead of lightsabers, and what they carried around with them in case of trouble. In the book, Dooku goes to his home planet of Sereno as a youngling, and while he's there, he feels a strong connection with a young girl, and follows her through the crowd to discover who she is. Now, this girl is named Jenza and turns out to be his sister, hence the connection Dooku felt. But as she's walking through the streets, she gets cornered by a few thugs looking to rob her coat and valuables. As they rough her up, one of them is suddenly thrown through the air into the wall. "Something knocked me over," he yells. They all gape open wide when they see Dooku. "It's a Jedi!" One of them yells while another one laughs. "It's just a child. He hasn't even got a lightsaber." "I don't need one," yells Dooku back. Dooku flicks his wrist and a telescopic rod extends from the hilt hidden in his palm. Kinda like what Palpatine did in Revenge of the Sith. The rod then crackles with unfettered energy, sorta like Kylo Ren's blade. "Ha! What's that supposed to be?" one of the criminals asks. "It's an Electroblade," responds Dooku. "We use them to practice against dummies like you." Dooku wields around and his blade smacks into the brute's leg. He crashes to the floor, staring up to Dooku in disbelief. "Do you want more?" asks Dooku. "You wouldn't dare," says the criminal. But Dooku keeps wailing on the muggers until they can't take any more. He defeats them handily with his Electroblade and they flee like cowards. So basically, the Jedi youngling Electroblades are glorified police nightsticks that shock their victims as well as hit them. They remind me of the electrified nightsticks in Minority Report. The Electroblades can also deflect blaster bolts, although not as good as lightsabers. Electroblades also didn't hurt others the same way as lightsabers. They delivered super painful shocks on contact instead of cutting or cauterizing like a normal sword or lightsaber would. In Legends, however, an Electroblade training sword was sometimes referred to as a practice saber and was used by both the Jedi Order and the Sith during the Cold War between the Galactic Republic and the Sith Empire. Jedi Padawans would use Electroblade training swords until they were deemed worthy to journey to the Tython Forge and create their own lightsaber. Similarly, Sith acolytes were required to wield these in order to earn the right to use Sith warblades, which would earn them the right to wield a lightsaber. Much of the new canon material about Electroblades is basically the same. In Attack of the Clones, we see younglings training with lightsabers in the Jedi Temple, but it's clear now that these lightsabers weren't their own. The younglings there were far too young to have found their own crystals and made their own. The ceremony of making a lightsaber was an extremely personal ritual which formed a special bond between Jedi and saber. It required a mastery of the Force that younglings simply didn't have yet. The construction was also very difficult. In Clone Wars, we see how much trouble even the finest youngling had in trying to make their own sabers. So when the younglings trained in the temple in episode 2, they were using sabers provided by the temple expressly for this training purpose only, and the initiates were under the strictest supervision, Master Yoda in this case. We can even see how little they are moving them as they block the blaster bolts. The bolts didn't shoot in different places around the youngling, since the last thing Yoda would want is for a youngling to swing wide after a blaster bolt and cut the kid standing next to him in half. But what about episode 3, you may ask? The younglings hiding in the Jedi Council chamber when Anakin arrives are all holding lightsabers. This means that when the clones broke into the temple, the younglings must have gone straight for the lightsaber armory and gotten them to defend themselves before seeking refuge in the highest spire of the Jedi Temple. Either that or they're holding the hilts of the Electroblades. Either way, Anakin kills them, and so let's just take a moment to remember Swords Bandim and his clanmates. In the end, it makes perfect sense that the Jedi wouldn't give the most dangerous weapon to tiny little children, except in highly controlled environments and until they could make one of their own. So what I want to know is, what would you do if you had a lightsaber? And maybe more realistically, what would you accidentally destroy in the process? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this canon video about a whole bunch of different things put together from the Dooku audiobook and even more. Have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, remember, the Force will be with you always.